Planting into your native soil is the traditional method and has been used since the beginning of mankind. Planting into your native soil will be the least expensive initially. You'll need to invest more in fertilizers and soil additives later to ensure that your soil has the proper nutrients it needs in order to avoid problems down the line. But you won't have the overhead of building or buying raised beds or containers. The first thing you'll want to do is designate where you'll plant. For a vegetable garden, this may be just where the grass ends. For flower beds, you may use some kind of edging product which can be aesthetically pleasing, but also keep grass from creeping into your beds. You could also do this for your vegetable garden. Once you've designated your growing area, you'll want to break up the soil, turn it, and give it new life and oxygen. This is also when you would add any fertilizer you need and soil additives such as compost or peat moss. In the soil videos, you can see how to know what to add. So this is also when you would remove any weeds, branches, or other obstructions in your native soil. A tiller can be a great tool if you've got a lot of area to cover and can be very satisfying and fun. A tip with tilling is if the ground is rock hard, give it some water and wait a day, and that will soften it up so you can get into the ground. Once the soil has been broken up and fed, take a rake and smooth it out. In a vegetable garden, you'll then want to designate paths where it will be safe for you to walk and to get your plants and to get to your plants all year. You'll also create rows where you will plant. So once you're ready to plant, you can use a hoe to create little furrows which you can plant into. I have fond memories of my dad getting out the big tiller and working the ground, and then the older kids would rake it out, and my mom would make furrows, and it was my job to plant little beans down the rows every 3 inches. I always watched in wonder when in the next few days I would find my little bean plants that I had planted all in a row. If you're using drip irrigation in landscape fabric or plastic, you would lay that just before you plant or just after your seedlings have come up, and then make holes accordingly. If you're doing flood irrigation with a hose, then you'll want to create deep furrows that all connect, which you can flood with a hose or ditch water if you have access to it. And then at the top of the little hills is where your plants would actually be. So something you might look into is rain collection tank systems, which collect water from your roof. It then has a filtration system, and then you store it in a tank, which can then be used to water your garden. Every state and country will have their restrictions, and in some places it's not legal to collect rainwater. And in other places, they'll even give you a rebate for the tank. So do your research and see what your options are if you're interested in using rainwater to water your garden. I'm just making you aware that that's an option, and that if you go that route, then you will set up some kind of a flood irrigation type garden with these deep furrows and hills. Field gardening tends to be a little more time intensive, but if done right, it can be as easy as raised beds. I've covered container gardening or pots, raised beds, and field gardens. For you, you'll just need to consider your needs as far as time, resources, and interest, and choose what's best for you. For me, I actually use a combination of all three throughout my yard. My flower gardens and flower beds are done in my native soil. I have a cement pad in my backyard where I grow pots, and then I keep pots in different places on my porch, and I keep my vegetables in raised beds. My siblings are avid gardeners, and everyone does it a little bit different. So, some of them do raised beds, some like to irrigate, and Others just keep mostly ornamental flowers, trees, and bushes with a tomato plant or two. You decide what it is you like and what works best for your situation. There's really no right or wrong when it comes to these different methods, and I wanted to make you aware of each so that you could decide where you want to use what and design the type of yard and garden that is going to be the best for you.